jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
And you didn't hear it from us, but I got the retro movie pickup man himself, Jonathan Traylor. Are you sure?
What's up, guys?
Alrighty. Today we're just talking about lovable character actor Bryan Cranston.
Oh, yeah. The undeniable Mr. Bryan Cranston, Walter White.
Alright, okay, so I will start off. I mean, did you know who he was before?
Actually, I'd seen him in King of Queens episodes and on the Seinfeld episode. That was
okay, perfect.
Yeah, I was a pretty good follower of Seinfeld and the King of Queens, so I'd seen him. I think he kind of started off like a more of a comedic actor than
Totally.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of theater to boot, including a Sam Shepard play. He's got video game voiceovers.
Yep.
My friends would geek out all the time over his like, man, he did, English dubs of various anime,
Yeah. No, definitely talented, man. Even before the Walter White, Breaking Bad series, he definitely was talented. He also did a spot in the movie Little Miss Sunshine, and I remember I think he had a role in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, he's the colonel who talks at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. So it seems like everybody, as soon as you say his name or they look at his picture, they immediately go to Walter White. But
They just can't get over it. Even going off some recent interviews of both Conan and Smartless, which has Sean Hayes and Will Arnett and Jason Bateman hosting that podcast, and then they joked afterwards like, "Shit, we didn't even talk about what his recent show that he was there to promote."
Yeah, no, he's very talented. He's also not only an actor but director, producer, and he's a screenwriter, I believe, as well. So
yeah, he's had some indie films. Our friends of the show, Months and Other Movies, did a pretty cool catacombs of his career. But I'll even just flat out say, for the longest time, I didn't mess with Breaking Bad. I just thought, okay, everyone's saying it's amazing, and I know how much that's worth. When someone recommends something to you, and you either don't trust what their taste is, or no, they haven't seen as much as they think they have, and it's one of those. Is like, I finally saw it, and he's like, yeah, it's a pretty well deserved show, pretty damn badass.
Yep.
And with him, it was interesting because he had done every kind of movie and TV show, and done some Roger Corman stuff and other TV stuff. Conan broke into how he had actually trained to be a police officer.
Oh wow. That would have been
and
interesting.
I mean, it's interesting because you can definitely recall a few detective roles that he's done. And before this episode, I was fortunate enough to see some other recurring and guest spot, shows he was on from stuff that no one remembers anymore.
Yep. Not to mention the character he did in Argo. I don't know if you've seen the film Argo.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Argo and Contagion are definitely at his peak, where he's like, now I'm Mr. Big ensemble movie guy.
Yeah.
And I do think it's interesting how he can pretty much just blend in wherever you need him to. He's in movies you don't remember him in, and now you kind of want to rewatch him just to see who he played.
Yeah, very versatile. I mean, it seemed like he could pretty much play any role he wanted to if he really wanted, to try. So.
And I think a movie you'll like that he's in would probably be, what's the way to put it? I mean, everyone was so hard on it, but I thought he was actually kind of funny in both Larry Crown and pretty cool in The Lincoln Lawyer. But
okay. I've seen both of those, and I actually think Larry Crown is a underrated film. It's actually okay. It's not too bad.
Right. Everyone was acting like, oh, overblown, tragic. And it's a fun movie. It's all it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember him in Get a Job, but Trumbo and All the Way, where he plays LBJ, I think you'll dig. The Infiltrator's been kind of getting a lot of attention on streaming platforms. Did you ever see Cold Comes the Night?
No, I don't think I have. Is that on Netflix or Amazon?
I don't think it is. Ironically, it should be. It might as well be, and you might be able to find it on one of the third-party ones like Tubi or Crackle. It's interesting how he gets to play a blind thief who's like an ex-cop or some shit like that, and he's basically just, again, he's trying to rip off the Russians. Still from this other gal. But it was an interesting movie. It's not perfect. Nothing is, but it was cool to kind of see him try his own kind of thing.
He was also in a sitcom Malcolm in the Middle. I don't know if you remember.
And so
Malcolm in the Middle.
I've talked about it to death basically with our Breaking Bad specials, but we were mainly just hitting at how it was kind of set in stone that just set him up for the next best thing. It's like, okay, he can play dads, so now we got to see him play mistaken dads, or
the Walter White character was so different though from everything else pretty much
it was
done. And
even Your Honor is different in that is like, okay, it's a gritty crime show and he's playing a concerned dad, but this time he's a judge and he's willingly breaking the law to save his son, and at the same time the dominoes are going to fall. I haven't seen Sneaky Pete all the way, but I thought that was pretty cool and that was definitely where you started seeing him be involved again. He wrote and produced a bunch of the episodes. Yeah.
I watched probably like 2 seasons of it. Unfortunately, I follow so many different seasons. I kind of fell behind on Sneaky Pete, but it was definitely interesting concept for sure.
Do you remember the episode of The Office that he's on?
I probably seen it, but it's kind of slipping my mind. I've seen so many different shows, but
I think it's cool that he's played Peter Finch's character on As Mad as Hell on a stage play version of Network.
yeah, that would be hilarious.
Like, that makes sense. Yeah. Some guest spots I'll recommend. Everyone kind of remembers the 2-parter he did of Archer, where it was kind of a crazy trapped in space episode. I gotta recommend, from what I've seen, he's like in the first season of The Pretender. Obviously, his episode of The X-Files was a pretty key, underrated episode that got him the Breaking Bad job in the first place because same writers.
Yep.
Did you ever watch any of those 90s crime shows? He was on this spin-off of NYPD Blue called Brooklyn South, where he plays a crooked IAB lieutenant. For 2 episodes, and that was fascinating to see. Those DVD sets are hard to come by, but it's worth watching because basically he just really nails it in this guy violating his power.
So on my last Dollar Tree pickups, I found a DVD series from a show called, I don't know if it's a show or a movie called Wakefield.
It's a movie. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Is it okay? Is it worth watching?
It's a like it or hate it. I know friends of the show, the Munsons, really dug it. I couldn't get into it. I just kind of thought it was a waste of time. But I do like his episode of LA Law. You can definitely find that on one of those Daily Motion or YouTube sites, because basically he played a guy who's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, accused of killing his wife, and he just had just the most just perplexed yet subtle layering he added to that role.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you're anyone on those kinds of shows, they're only going to cut to your close up when they're just, you know, seeing your expressions during the trial. You know?
Yeah. LA Law. Yeah, I remember those shows for sure.
He was on an episode of Airwolf and North and South, the second season. I'm like, damn, I gotta go back to these Hill Street Blues. I do like his episode of Chicago Hope. Now, that's a great show that no one ever talks about, but in that episode, he plays a disillusioned, ego-headed actor who thinks he's Jesus, and so walks and talks just like him.
Oh, God.
And so they just have trouble treating him. They're like, dude, sit down.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You mentioned Airwolf. I remember watching that show all the time. That was an awesome show. Oh,
right?
My God. You took me back on that one, bro.
Yeah. You got to play Buzz Aldrin on From the Earth to the Moon, that acclaimed HBO you know, real life miniseries, and I think that's funny because, you know, who else would you want to play? You know, just someone who just has an everyday kind of appeal.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting how, much like some of these other actors we've talked about, he's been fortunate enough to do a lot of voiceover works, but not really get typecast. He just does it on the side, kind of like Jane Lynch and some of these other comedic actors, and it's just cool to see that there is no limits for him. I do think you would like the LBJ movie because it just kind of had a lot of dry humor and just a fun, just kind of relationship kind of movie. It wasn't crazy political. It was just kind of more as like, here's this guy with, you know, who's got so many sides to him, just complex Texan.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. I do think it's pretty amazing that I was reading up on his early life. His mother was a radio actress. His father was an actor as well. He was born in Hollywood.
Yeah, basically his dad didn't want to talk about it and was basically taken over by drugs, never home. And then his mom was an alcoholic and he had to go live with his grandparents around 7th grade or some shit like that. And
yeah,
it was very inspirational because he was always kind of the shy but pleasant, you know, cool guy in school, and yet he pretty much just needed, you know, a purpose. And he basically said, after doing a brief 80s doctor soap opera, he pretty much went on a marathon run, and that's when it opened up his whole, now I figure out, you know, what to do in between the, you know, pacing myself by the phone. You know, I find out what to do with my life, you know, get married early, and you know, here's where the fun really begins, and you make your own destiny. And he's like, I had that freedom because he got so distracted with doing plays and everything, he forgot, oh, that's right, I do have a, you know, I was training at the police academy. How's that going? It's not going. So
yeah. Well, that's crazy. I think he could have easily gotten real bitter at Hollywood because of his, you know, parental situation, and you know, because of that. But he ended up ultimately it turned into almost like fate for him.
He had enough just keeping him busy doing a day job while, you know, at school and everything. He pretty much just figured out right away, I am my own guy. I gotta support my brother and, you know, other family members, but I gotta, you know, there is no doing this over. I gotta just head on forward.
Yeah. I was reading about the Walter White character. He said he kind of based that role on his father.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that the shrewd side of Walter White was, I guess, is maybe mimicking his father. So
pretty much is, and much like when we talked about Giancarlo Esposito, he's basically at the third stage of his career, so now he can do whatever.
Oh yeah. Probably look for him in like a part 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or something crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally the kind of thing he's going to do, you know, just some kind of well, he's there and everyone lights up regardless of what they've seen him in. He's just appeared on all in the talk shows and done plenty of other things, and it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely could do it and pull get away with it if he wanted to. I was surprised also at his age. I didn't realize he was 65 years old.
Yeah, still kicking, still in good shape, and
Yeah.
so many other wacky roles playing neighbors.
I had him in my mind like a 50-year-old for some reason.
Yeah,
So
he's on a cool episode of Babylon 5, and he's on like season 1 of The Pretender. He plays like a sheriff on an episode of Nowhere Man, but yeah, I definitely want to go back for Seinfeld and just look at his earlier episodes there. I just remember a lot of people talk about those roles now because, again, that was a big recurring role back in the day. And there's like, yeah, it's like everyone's thinking he's, you know, a murderer or something. It's just, they let their anger at him start accusing him of something, and he's just always like, he's a smartass, but he's not a terrible person.
Yeah. You know, Seinfeld didn't have much of a plot. It was just kind of like fly by your seat of your pant type comedy. Right. And so I remember those episodes. He was pretty crazy, pretty convincing in those roles there. It also takes me back to the King of Queen episodes that he was in. He was kind of the annoying neighbor, you know, next door. Yeah, pretty funny episode. I was a huge fan of King of Queens. So
there you go. And it was like the first season or just on and off again. Just
yeah. Well, some people have seen me out, and they actually say, I've actually been told, they say, you kind of resemble the Kevin James. I'm like, really? That's like a huge compliment to me. Like, okay, thanks, you know. But so it's kind of funny.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back for Sabrina the Teenage Witch and even freaking Third Rock from the Sun, where he plays like a Neil Diamond impersonator. I'm like, yeah, I gotta see this.
I wonder if he ever made it to Saturday Night Live.
Apparently he did. He like hosted like a 2010 episode, and then he appeared in one of the digital shorts as Walter White. So that's interesting. I've definitely seen his Robot Chicken, probably his 30 Rock episode. It was just,
yeah,
he's not hard to find. He's definitely playing on some TV, and if they're not playing that, then they're playing at least a older TV movie, which he's coincidentally in.
Yeah. It says here he was also in Drive in 2011, which was one of Stallone's supposedly blockbuster failures. So,
Drive,
yeah.
Oh, the Ryan Gosling film.
Yeah. I thought it was a Sylvester Stallone film that one time. I thought he did one called Drive as well.
Driven. That's what you're thinking.
That's Driven. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a flop. Yeah. What would you like to see him in? I guess.
I don't know. I would almost like to see a Breaking Bad film, you know, with him in it. But you know, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Maybe a prequel. I don't know.
There you go. I'd like to see him as a mad scientist or some kind of other nutty, kind of gimmicky premise so that he could just again tap into his various endless kind of emotions, just, you know, man in the mirror kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was on that one ABC Family show called Fallen, which was again about a fallen angel, and he played apparently Lucifer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he was able to get that one past everybody. I'm sure. Yeah. I seen that clip recently where some guy asked him a question, and he like said something about his mom, and he dropped the mic. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So he seems like he's you know, quite a quirky type of character. He's, you know, but he's not afraid to, you know, give you what you're asking for type guy.
Yeah, he's really not afraid of anything at this point, because I mean, he wants to at least, you know, he knows how much effort he takes, and he also does, you know, he realizes that this is a brand and it's a creative endeavor, and you got to give it your all. There's no time for that. Did you ever see Little Miss Sunshine? I know everyone's going back and watching that one. They're like, oh yeah, he was in that.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a great film. I actually really enjoyed that one. Actually, I thought it was, in a lot of ways, I thought it was kind of funny, but it actually had some serious moments in there. So I thought it was a great film.
Absolutely. I don't remember much of The Upside, which was a remake of a French film, or Power Rangers at all, but I do recommend Last Flag Flying because, you know, he and Lawrence Fishburne Steve Carell were again just on fire as these veterans, trying to get to a funeral in time.
Oh, I seen that. I caught it on Amazon.
Yeah, it was one of the original movies.
Yeah,
Not too long after Trumbo and Godzilla.
Yeah, it was a very good film. Very deep role there. It was
Really
a good one.
Everyone hates on the Total Recall remake, but honestly, he was probably the best part as the villain.
Yeah. So I didn't catch the upside. Don't remember him in Godzilla in 2014.
Yeah, he was like the main scientist guy who dies in the first 20 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also, once again, playing the dead.
Yeah, it says Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda. I think both of those were part 3s.
Yeah, vitally. Let me look that up.
Yeah. Kung Fu Panda 3, Madagascar 3. And I was pretty much over Madagascar after part 2. My kids at that point were still pretty small, so we were catching most of these at the movies. And they would drive me nuts. I think we sang that one song. What was it? You got to move it. Yeah, that's it.
It's too much. Yeah, every day.
Yeah, lots of fun though.
So vitally, what the hell is vitally in Madagascar? Oh, he's the tiger. Wow, I thought that was someone else.
Really? Wow.
Not Ben Stiller's character, but like the other macho guy.
Okay.
In part 3. So there you go. Europe's Most Wanted.
Yeah. And
I'm just
then,
getting mixed up with all the other muscle heads who were the voice actors. So,
let's see, Isle of Dogs. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's that Wes Anderson experimental movie. I can't recommend that one, but I know some people really love it, and I'm just like, okay, you like Wes Anderson, go for it. If you don't.
I'm a huge fan of Unsolved Mysteries. I wonder if he did any early acting work in Unsolved Mysteries.
I couldn't find it, but I mean, he should have. He would have been a great host.
Yeah.
He should even just host his own comedic game show, like during the summer, to like do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type thing. That would be fun.
Oh, for sure.
He has that kind of range. Like, he could even, maybe they could do a funny, like, behind the scenes kind of movie, because he just is so prone to that. Maybe he could play Peter Graves or someone in some biography.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
He's apparently got a lot actual human role in this this kids movie called The One and Only Ivan. So I haven't seen that yet.
Wow. Here's an interesting fact as well, is that he at 12 years old he encountered Charlie Manson while riding the
I
horse.
remember him telling that story, yeah, and it was one of those, is like they would always hear rumors of him, then it's like they saw him that one day and they had to, as they're going out to dinner, and they're like, Jesus, we saw Charlie for real.
That's insane. It says it was around about a year before he committed or ordered the murders. So,
yeah, so they just kind of felt kind of guilty. It's like, maybe, what were we gonna do? Stop him?
Maybe they could have gave him a hug or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't go near Charlie. He'd probably convert you somehow. You know how it is.
Oh, for sure. But no, definitely an amazing actor. Accomplished a lot in his career. I think he'll continue.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to slow down, I think. And I'm just glad that he gets so many diverse roles, as opposed to just kind of playing it safe and doing just, voiceovers or just, TV. He pretty much is just showing you can conquer everywhere,
Oh, for sure.
Just got to have confidence, and you've got to, again, you've never heard any story about him, being a prima donna, how he wants his coffee, or he's very given, and at the same time kind of just, I'm just like you, trying to make a living. And you've never, even his earlier B movies, he's really interesting. And he's in this wild one with Michael Dudikoff. This weird kind of, executive decision, Firefox kind of, spy thriller. He's in a bunch of other ones too. And it's just, but that's just it. I mean, I don't think he really has too many movies that he's just like, oh, I'm going to have to talk shit about that one. That one was a mistake. I think he's been fortunate enough to at least be in a lot of them that are very professionally made, and he has a little bit of creative input because he understands all the setups and other, time that's involved, but he also knows how to speak English to you without sounding like a crazy person, unlike Walter.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And I don't know who else could have played Walter. Again, you see all the other people we talked about is like, yeah, if you had some other comedian or funny guy playing serious, we would have been so associated with what they've done previously, and his was perfect because he was somewhat established, and yet he had the right amount of surprise.
I think what's crazy about it is he had already done so much before the Breaking Bad series, but a lot of people, when they first seen him, they were like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, and he's told the story again. It's like, no, we didn't know it was going to be at all. We just thought it's going to be a cool show. It's too edgy, it's too risky, and no one will ever watch it. And sure enough, someone's watching it because
yeah. Oh, I would consider it a cult classic. I mean, for sure. So
yeah, to be both critically acclaimed and go beyond even just cult. Like, and now at this point, it's just like it's dynamite. It's kind of now the template. Now every show has to be like that now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. If it comes on now, I mean, if I seen an old episode, I would watch it. Just because I know it's good. So.
It doesn't matter. When he starts. All the betrayals he does in between Jesse, how he goes to the dark side, is like you just can't take your eyes off. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, did you think that the older episodes, like at the beginning, were better, or did you think that as the newer episodes came out, that it just got better and better, or did you like the older episodes before?
I kind of just took it as a movie that lasted 6 years. I know everyone's got their pros and cons of what they like about any show, and with that one, I watched it all back to back. I'm kind of bigger on Better Call Saul, but like that one is cool in terms of just seeing a cool kind of Prison Break or Training Day kind of crime yarn where you just got all these guys who are just tempted by just easy to just succumb to material, money, drug making, addiction, even just, again, his characters grow such a big head by, season end, series end, that it's fascinating because now you want to look at all the other details that are hinted at because they outlined it all from the get-go, and it's just it makes you wish more shows would do that, and instead a lot of them just don't. They make stuff up as they go along and it doesn't work out.
Yeah. No, I thought the show was pretty steady all the way across. Some of these series eventually get kind of, this is getting kind of drab and the same old stuff. But
right,
it
that's
always
a season I avoid.
Yeah, but it always kept my attention, and I kept watching. I do think at some point Jesse started becoming more of the star of the show in a kind of a crazy way, just
reversal,
because of just because of his character and the way that the script was going. But
Tyler seems like more of a victim after a while. Hank goes from being kind of the unpleasant guy at the party to the hero.
Yeah,
the supporting
for sure.
one. Gus is also kind of goes from being harmful villain to also a victim.
Yeah,
Mike, the hitman. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, all the twists and turns in that show was just crazy.
I never would have thought that Bob, Odenkirk would be playing again the Saul character years later in a wacky, prequel.
Yeah, it's funny how you talked about that, or brought that up. I actually follow that show as well, and I think it's awesome. I can't seem to get my wife to like it. She liked the Breaking Bad. She'd watch that with me, but she don't like Better Call Saul very much.
It's all good. I mean,
yeah.
When it was first announced, it just kind of sounded like, oh, okay, now you're getting too spoiled. But then you actually saw it, it's like, holy moly, they know it's so atypical. They're using the same crew and everything and styles, but they're going even in a totally different direction. That you almost wonder what would have happened had they done that originally with Breaking Bad.
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, man, he's definitely a great actor. I've enjoyed most of his work, and I think it's really interesting too. He's even got some Broadway stuff as well. So,
Yeah, I would trust him to sing. I don't know if he has. But.
Yep. Yep. It looks like some sort of play called the All the Way, which I'm
Yeah,
not
it was
sure.
that. That's the LBJ one I was telling about. Yeah, he did it on
Yeah.
Broadway first before he did the HBO movie version. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. I haven't caught that, but you know what? I need to check that out for sure.
for sure. Oh,
Yep.
so if you outside of his shows like Seinfeld and Breaking Bad, what are the movies that you're gonna recommend instantly to people besides Argo? You think?
Definitely, if you haven't seen, Save It Private Ryan. I mean, that one's a classic. Little Miss Sunshine for sure.
Yeah.
I would say those two for sure. So I would definitely recommend those two for sure.
Absolutely. Contagion, I'll definitely recommend. Just if you want to see and be part of a big, disaster movie. Some of these other TV films he's done, aren't gonna be half bad. And definitely some of these earlier comedies he's done and just nutty stuff. Just check him out, guys. Just
Yep.
Infiltrator, I don't totally recommend, but I think it's a fun one still, despite being a little messy in the execution. It's still pretty solid, tell.
For sure.
And his Babylon 5 appearance, I do think, is pretty interesting, especially since that's now on HBO Max and people are getting into that. You're going to counter him along the way and be like, oh, man.
Another one that we didn't bring up, Why Him, was a comedy with James Franco. That one was pretty funny, I would say. So if you haven't seen that, Why Him, pretty good.
It's not going to be one where, it's going to offend anyone. It's just slapstick, and
yeah.
I kind of felt like they gave away a lot of stuff in the trailer, but if it's on Comedy Central, I'll watch it again. I don't.
Yeah, it's got that Siri character. It's like a spoof on Siri.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a pretty funny movie. If you haven't seen that, you definitely should catch that one for sure.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
Yeah. So. Let's see the upside as well. I mean, the upside's okay. It's not too bad. It had Kevin Hart in it, so if you're a Kevin Hart fan, so it's got a deep story. I don't think it was his best work, but it was a pretty good film.
Yeah, for what it was. I mean, it's kind of apples and oranges to even compare it to the French film, and. Well, that was a great French film. I mean, at this day and age, you got to pretty much just say, okay, to be fair, that was a pretty inspired cast. So.
Oh yeah. The Lincoln Lawyer is actually an excellent film too. I really enjoyed Lincoln Lawyer. So.
Yeah, I'm due for a rewatch, but I do recall it being pretty solid. And I am seeing a trend, because that was some of the same cast and crew as The Infiltrator, so there you go. I mean, he will work with some of the same people again.
Yep.
And as we mentioned earlier, we don't know who he played in Kung Fu Panda 3, but it's just so wild how he's in 2 different DreamWorks franchises, and each is the 3rd installment. Doesn't matter. He's at the very beginning of John Carter, but that's also a like it or hate it movie. But yeah, he just plays once again, a colonel, and this time he gets killed.
It says here he was in another film with Tom Hanks that was kind of a role.
Oh, that thing you do, yeah.
Yeah, that thing you do. Yeah.
Brief role, but I think he even notes how there's like more footage of him in like the director's cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen any of these animes. But
John Carter, I don't recall him in John Carter, but I guess
that's what I was saying. He plays the colonel at the beginning of the episode film that gets shot off the horse.
Okay.
It's kind of wild how he once again played Buzz Aldrin, the astronaut in the Magnificent Desolation IMAX documentary. So that's wild. He played the same real life person twice.
He was in Rock of Ages too. That was kind of a crazy. Yeah, it was kind of a crazy film.
I'll probably fast forward just to see his scenes. Yeah,
80s rock type film. So
I don't recall him in Red Tails though.
Yeah, but he's done a body of work for sure. So
Sure.
yeah, I'll
Even some of
definitely.
his campier appearances. I mean, check those out.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely looking forward to anything that he does in the future, and definitely would sit down and definitely give it a watch just based upon the history of his work. So,
Right. He's got a pretty consistent rapport. So, alrighty.
yeah.
Well, if you want to promote your show, let's plug it.
Yeah, it's Retroman movie pickups. I also have a podcast, Retroman Stories. It's really just for fun. I've been a movie collector for a long time, so I've been collect everything from Laserdisc, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. But anyway, I have a YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Retroman Movie Pickup. So if you're interested at all, I also have a YouTube channel, Retroman Movie Pickup. So if you want to go over and check it out, most of them are my Dollar Tree finds that I find at Dollar Tree. I've been doing Dollar Tree pickups for a while, so definitely go check it out. I also do Big Lots pickups and sometimes over at Goodwill as well. So just whatever you find, that I really enjoy. So, but I've done some Laserdisc reviews over there and things like that.
Nice.
So if you're into Laserdisc and all that type of stuff, all the vintage type of
Yeah,
media,
please link some of this. Yeah.
yeah. But I've been a collector for a while. Like I said, I've got about over 400 Laserdiscs. Some of the movies you can't find on DVD and stuff like that. So definitely hanging on to those. But yeah. It's just for fun, man. It's more of a hobby than anything. But I've enjoyed watching movies over the years and different things. So I grew up in the '80s, so always a fan of people like Stallone and Schwarzenegger and just all those '80s action films that you watched. Probably most of you listening with maybe like your dad or or whoever. So just lots of fun times with those and watching like old VHS type of movies.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time.
Ah,
Tangents galore.
yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We may talk about video games,
Music.
Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Ah, yes.
I am the master storyteller
Yes.
of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers,
Yes.
the Google Play,
Yes.
Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, mother. Fucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We
Ah.
gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair to say
Ah. Ah.
all
Yeah.
that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Don't run the listeners away, PJ.
Ah, I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one last plot holes or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zemenov. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zemenov, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zemenov, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zemenov.
Hi, everybody. It's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything: pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VDClinicPod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VDClinicPod. Or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up